Welcome to a new episode of Voices from the Castle with your host, Shane Highley, Superintendent of Tyler County Schools. Today, we're going to talk about something critical to every student, family, and community member in our county, the school levy, which is on May 12th, 2026. Why the school levy matters. The school levy is more than just a tax. It's an investment in our students, our schools, and the future of Tyler County. When approved, it provides more than $24.5 million annually to support programs and services that touch each part of a student's day. Here's a quick look at what these funds look like. A little later, I'll have a special guest, Jeff Lancaster, Tyler County Schools Treasurer, to talk a little more in depth about the levy and what it provides through a Q&A with him. That'll be the second part of this podcast today. But a few of those resources that the levy provides, textbooks, workbooks, computers, software, and other materials that help students succeed academically. Technology access, it allows us to have devices for all students, updated infrastructure, tech repairs, and trainings for our teachers and staff on those technology devices. School safety and facilities, maintenance, renovations, and upgrades to keep our buildings safe and functional. Transportation, buses, parts, and services so students can get to school safely every day. Meals. The levy provides free breakfast to hot lunch for every student in the district, along with a supper program that allows us to feed those who stay after school for extracurricular activities. Staffing. It allows us to provide competitive wages and benefits to attract and retain excellent teachers, service personnel, and administrators. It provides student support, such as nurses, counselors, social workers, and school resource officers to ensure physical, mental, and emotional well-beings of our students and staff. It helps with the funding of extracurricular programs, academics, athletics, and enrichment programs that can help students grow beyond the classroom. So, what does a day in the life of a Tyler County student look like? In the morning, the school bus arrives, funded through the levy, safely bringing students to school. Breakfast. Free breakfast helps start the day and get them ready to learn. Classroom learning. Technology, textbooks, and supplies ensure students can engage with lessons, all provided through the levy. Library time. Students access books, research tools, and other media resources. And then throughout the day, we have student supports, like our nurses, counselors, and social workers are available when help is needed. Without our school levy, those resources would be limited. After school activities, athletics, music, clubs, and academic teams are all supported by the levy. Safe facilities. Students learn in a clean, well-maintained, and secure school buildings every part of the student's day, from the bus ride to after-school activities, is strengthened by the levy. Stay tuned for part 2 of Voices from the Castle, where we have our special guest, Jeff Lancaster, Treasurer, Tyler County Schools. All right, in our second half of this podcast, I have a special guest, Jeff Lancaster, Tyler County Schools Treasurer. He comes to us with 24 years of school treasurer experience. So what I'm going to do today is I have a series of questions that I'm going to ask Mr. Lancaster, and he's going to go as in-depth as he wants to go with these questions about the school levy and what it provides and what it does and what it won't do if we don't have a school levy to our listeners. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So question number 1, Mr. Lancaster, can you explain what the school levy is and why it is necessary for Tyler County Schools?
Sure can, Shane. Thanks for having me. The school levy is a local property tax that voters approved to provide extra funding for Tyler County Schools beyond what the state normally provides. It helps pay for things like teacher support, building maintenance, transportation, and student programs. In Tyler County, these are the same levy rates that have been in effect since 1949. The election on May 12th is not for a new tax. Taxpayers would simply continue paying the same rate they've always paid.
And I think that's important for everyone to know. We are building a new school We've kind of heard a few things like, well, they're going to raise their taxes. Well, that's not the case. The levy, like you said, has been the same since 1949. Question number 2. How does this levy differ from the regular funding we receive from the state and federal resources?
This levy is different from state and federal funding because it's locally controlled and stays here to support Tyler County schools. It's our levy. Tyler, Wetzel, and Marshall counties are in a unique situation. Doddridge to some extent as well. There might be a little different this year, but they're in a unique situation due to the ins and outs of the state funding formula. Because of how that formula works, specifically step 9 of the 10-step formula, our state aid is reduced by the amount of local tax revenue we receive. In Tyler County, our local revenue from oil and gas is high enough that it reduces our state aid to 0. So yes, we receive more taxes because of the oil and gas reserves in our county, but we receive less, essentially 0 state funding because of it.
Okay, so question number 3. What is the total amount we expect to collect annually if this levy passes?
The excess levy is estimated to generate approximately $24.5 million annually. That number can fluctuate quite a bit year to year due to the assessed property values in a given year. In Tyler, that has a lot to do with the price of oil and gas. We are already expecting a 19% decrease in tax collections next year, and that follows up a 60% decrease that we are seeing this current year. We are not in the same situation we were in last year when the assessed values were based on high natural gas prices. Some of our citizens were receiving a spike in their property taxes because of that.
Yeah, so I think one of the big misconceptions out there is that, taxes, everyone's taxes keep going up. Well, the taxes don't keep going up. Property values continue to increase. The rate of taxes has been the same since 1949, right? So is there anything else you want to say about that?
No, that's a common thing that you see because, your tax ticket may differ a little bit, especially if you're one of the lucky ones to have some royalty income. That's going to fluctuate a little bit, but those values aren't set by Tyler County Schools. We just go with the flow on that one. Whatever the assessed values are, we have that same rate that's been in effect for years.
Yeah, and so a couple years ago, when we were running this levy before, we had some folks come and talk about, when tax rates are so high, not tax rates, but when the tax ticket's so high, could you work with us on lowering those rates? So, this time around we put provisions in this new levy call that says if we have a year like we had a couple years ago, where the tax revenue was so high, we can lower that rate to help out our citizens in Tyler County. So that has been put into this levy call. So, we're trying to work with those folks who came and talked to us.
Yes, sir.
So can you break down the levy funds by major categories, such as like staffing, technology, transportation, facilities, those kind of things?
Sure. There's a lot that goes into this levy. I'll try to summarize it a little bit without going into all the details. But it's broken down into sections. You can read that on the levy order on what you're voting for. The first category would be instructional materials. That includes textbooks, workbooks, computer software, other instructional supplies. That equates to about $1.9 million. Library and media supplies is another section of the levy. It includes an allocation to the Middleburn and Sisterville public libraries, and it includes our own librarians and our own libraries that we have inside of the schools. That's around $550,000 annually. We have a section in there to improve access to technology, and we're talking on some of that technology right now. What we have in this school system, I think, is it doesn't compare. It's amazing what we've done with technology here, and it's only going to continue to blossom here as long as this levy passes. That's about $1.9 million annually. Capital improvement, big section of our levy. It's needed to maintain our buildings. $2.4 million annually for that section. We have a section in there for transportation. Ongoing cost in this county. $990,000 a year. You'll get some new buses out of that. You'll get the maintenance of those buses and anything having to do with the transportation department. We have something that is not provided in all counties, but it's dental and optical benefits, and we need to have a funding source for that. So our funding source is through this excess levy. We offer dental and optical benefits to our staff. Perhaps the biggest one here is teacher retention and recruitment. Competitive salaries and benefits is something that we have to strive for in this county. We are competing with neighboring counties. And we'll talk about it hopefully a little bit later, Shane, about the zero state aid and what that kind of means without an excess levy. We have no state aid, so we have to fund all of those teacher salaries locally. So this excess levy, we have $13.7 million in there to help offset those costs and be able to provide that education for these students. A couple more categories that we have. Academic and athletic coaches is a section in the levy, around $300,000 annually. We have free breakfast and hot lunch to all students, $650,000 annually there. And then finally, our last section would be student safety and security. It's around $1.8 million. That includes, our PROs, our school nurses, our counselors, our social workers. So that's a pretty important section of our levy. Of course, all of our sections are important, but that's just one that we can point to.
Yeah, and to talk to teacher retention and recruitment just a little bit, we don't have, well, there's two things that really play a factor against us in Tyler County as far as getting teachers to come here. One, the housing market. There's not many houses for sale. Land is expensive. And then the other thing is, proximity for drive. So a lot of our teachers drive a distance to get here. So we have to keep those salaries competitive and provide some extra benefits to those people for them to continue to come because they could stay in their hometown. I mean, we have a teacher shortage around the state, around the country. They could probably find a job closer to home, but with us being able to be competitive and offer some of those benefits that other counties can't provide, we tend to get some great teachers just because of that fact. So this is a big question. A lot of people ask this and want to know the answer. How do you ensure that the funds are spent according to the approved purposes?
We ensure accountability through multiple layers of oversight, and I'm going to go off on a tangent here, and I hate to do that, but you know me long enough, Shane, that I do that sometimes. I kept a notepad on my desk, the number of audits that I go through, and as the year goes on, I think I'm up to 7 already in this school year. It's just part of. It's the nature of the beast in public education. We talk about transparency. It's a common subject, but transparency. We're all about transparency in my office. Anything anybody wants to know, it's public information. What we're doing right now is part of the transparency part of it. But we have several layers of oversight. Like we undergo an annual audit, a major financial audit through an outside CPA firm that requires us to show the levy funds were spent exactly as approved by voters. And we also submit monthly financial reports to the West Virginia Department of Education to monitor spending throughout the year.
So, and then another question that oftentimes we're asked or is talked about is, how will the levy impact taxpayers, and what does the cost mean to the average property owner in Tyler County?
Well, as I mentioned already, the impact on taxpayers hasn't changed in 77 years, other than the fluctuation in assessed property values, which we as a school system have no say in, as I've said before. We pay the same rate as we have in the past, and I say we because I am also a tax-paying citizen of Tyler County. Break that down in actual dollars. If someone owns a home worth around $150,000, its appraised value would be around $90,000. The excess levy tax on that value comes out to a little over $400 per year.
So, I mean, where a lot of our money in the school system comes from is not your average family with a middle class family. It comes from big business, Antero, JB Oil, all those big oil and gas companies that have a huge tax ticket because they're making a lot of money. So that's just the nature of the beast there. So
That's right.
so let's talk about something that we don't want to really talk about, but what happens if the levy fails? How would that affect programs, staff, and student services here in Tyler County?
If the levy were to fail, it would have a significant impact on our schools. Funding for instructional materials, technology, transportation, building improvements would all be reduced. It would also affect staffing and student support services that are in desperate need these days. I'm sure you've talked about that already in another podcast. In addition, programs like free breakfast and lunch for all students, support for libraries would be at risk. Overall, it would lead to fewer resources, reduced services, and fewer opportunities for our students. I think the main impact would be this. We have to remember that our neighboring counties also have an excess levy in place. And they have the same oil and gas values that we do. Teacher shortage is real. And like it or not, we are competing with these counties, these other counties, these neighboring counties for good quality teachers. I'd hate to fight that battle when they have the resources that an excess levy provides and we don't. I don't know how we could win that battle, and we just lose good quality teachers because of it.
Yeah. And without good quality staff, whether it's teachers, aides, nurses, counselors, your school system, it's affected. Whether you like it or not, it's going to be negatively affected if we don't have those good people. Like they say, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and so I feel that's the case in the school system also. So finally, last question for you. What would you like voters to keep in mind as they consider the excess levy?
The majority of Tyler County Schools' revenue received from this excess levy comes from the oil and gas companies working here in our county. We talked about that. I personally am not anti-oil and gas. I grew up helping out my dad and grandpa with a few shallow wells that they kept up with alongside of the regular jobs. But as we all know, there are headaches with having all these companies wanting to extract our oil and gas, like noise from drilling and operations, the dust, the changes to our landscape. My biggest one right now is my youngest son just turned 16. I'm putting him on the road with the countless oil and gas vehicles that are moving all hours of the day and night. It's scary. But the oil and gas boom here in Tyler County provides, without a doubt, a tremendous financial benefit to our students. But without an excess levy, those benefits are all but lost due to the way the state aid formula works. The excess levy is the best way to ensure that the impacts of the oil and gas industry in our county translate into direct financial benefits for our students. And finally, the last thing I want to say, I want to say thank you to all the citizens of Tyler County for supporting this levy for the past 77 years. It's provided a great education for my children, and I am thankful that we continue to pass it.
Yeah, and I was, we just had our academic awards banquet, the People's Bank Academic Awards banquet, and the pride in that room of the importance families in Tyler County put on a good education for their students was, it was, you could just feel it in the room, the pride that they have. And I even, from a gentleman from People's Bank who came, he said, I was just amazed by the amount of people that were there, the pride in the room, and that comes with good parents, good staff, and a good school system. And we have a good thing here in Tyler County Schools. We're doing the right things as far as what we're providing to students. We're trying to keep everyone involved and offer opportunities that they would not have, honestly, if we did not have the excess levy. So this wraps up our episode of Voices from the Castle. Thank you, and thank you to all our student staff and families for listening, and tune in next time. Thank you.